Okay, let's set up our pivot table. Now, as mentioned in the previous video, if you are only making one or two price waterfalls, then perhaps you do not actually need to set up a pivot table. A pivot table, its real value comes in when you're doing at least a dozen price waterfalls. So here, just to show you where the magic is before we go through this process, get my field list here. So like right now, this is just the various, from your list price, it has your discounts, down to your invoice, your rebates, has your marginal cost, and then finally down to your profit. Now, say, as we are going to do later, say you want to see whether the price waterfall varies by region. Well, it does, surprise, surprise, but all you have to do is just take this region variable, drop it down here to the row section, and then just like that, all of your data is tabulated according to whatever you put in the row section, in this case region. So you can see the various values for each of your discounts and rebates as they relate to your region. Say you wish to take a look at product category instead. You can do that as well. I mean, just looking right here, it looks like for whatever reason, items in the blue, green, and yellow category, they didn't receive freight discounts. That's sort of curious, makes me wonder why. Same thing with the yellow and the green categories for their volume rebates. It's just another way to quickly separate your data up and start exploring it. You could do that. You could do that potentially by month or quarter if you think there may be variation there. Whatever you would prefer. The point is, when you throw it in a pivot table, it makes it really easily to spit out these crosstabs so you can see what's actually happening here. So let's dive into actually creating this from scratch. So if you go over to the actual data set sheet and just use your Control-Shift buttons to get up to the very top corner, highlight your entire data set, and with it highlighted, just go to the Insert menu, and you have an option for Pivot Table. I always throw it on a new worksheet. I just generally find that much easier. So we'll just create a new worksheet. And we'll call this the Video Waterfall Pivot Table. Okay, now essentially what you're doing here is you're just going to grab each of these major components for your price waterfall. Once again, the full price waterfall looking like this. So basically just in order, you are going to drop each of these values into your pivot table. So let's see, we'll start right here. We want the list amount in, and they should automatically show up in the value section down here. So you start with your list amount. We want to throw in our 3 discounts, and then we're going to throw in our invoice amount, our 2 rebates, and our pocket revenue, marginal cost, and pocket profits. Now, with my data set here, I mean, this is essentially it, because with my data set, I ensured that there weren't any blank cells in any of the columns, so it automatically came in here as defaulting to sums for each of these fields, which is what you want. You may find though that if you do, have some non-blank cells, you have maybe some cells with alphanumeric characters, something that's throwing it off to where it's not actually showing you a sum. For some fields, they'll come in as a count instead, but a count is not what you want here. If that does happen for any reason, on whatever value that comes in as, all you have to do is select it in the value section, there's a drop-down arrow over here to the right, and if you click on that, you can get to the value field settings. And when you click on that, if it came in as a count, for instance, like this, well, here, I just changed the list amount here to a count instead of a sum, just to demonstrate what happens. It's just telling you the number of records that have a list amount value. So there are 777 records, so that's what shows up as the count. For all of these fields, if I were to change it to a count, they should all show up as 777 because there aren't any blanks in any of those cells. That is not what you want here. So if you are getting this to come in when you drop everything into your pivot table for your data set, if you are getting counts, you will have to modify that to sums, just like that. And you'll have to do that with each of these fields. And it is a little bit of a pain, I know that. But once again, the entire reason that you're taking the time to put your data into a pivot table is if you're going to be doing a lot of iterations on your price waterfalls. And this makes it a lot easier to spit out your data in a way that's useful for you, as I'll demonstrate later. But if you are having issues with having a lot of fields that you have to change from count to sums instead, if you are comfortable with VBA, there are VBA scripts that you can use to just very simply select your pivot table, automatically change all of the fields to sums, and you could even change the formatting for the individual fields as well. Add commas or maybe make it a currency formatting, whatever you'd like. That is an option, but only if you are comfortable with VBA. Otherwise, just make the adjustments manually and know that if you are making a lot of price waterfalls, you are in fact saving time.